We've talked about what the system is and who's joined and the value of it, but what is it actually like doing it? So for some of you, you've gone through this process probably many times, but for those of you who have not, what does that mean? What does it mean to get certified, right? And then join the system to be able to get this value. Well, first you have to demonstrate, much like the countries who had to demonstrate their laws, you have to demonstrate that you have the practices in place to meet those 50 requirements of CBPR or the 18 requirements of PRP. And so the way that it's set up is you have the program requirements and then you have assessment criteria. And that's the criteria that we here at TRUSTe use as a guide from the APEC and now global system to determine if your organization meets the requirements. So we use that guidance. So once you provide that information, we analyze it against that criteria and then identify, move to this third stage here, identify any gaps that you have. Maybe one of the elements is not met, right? And I note on sort of the program requirements of the CBPR system and PRP. It applies to companies of really all sizes. So we're talking about the big ones, IBM, GB, MasterCard, those things like that. But there's also smaller organizations who participate in it. And so the system, the way it's written, I think it was very thoughtful because it allows for both small companies to join and large. So the requirements are not as prescriptive. So you can implement these requirements and demonstrate them regardless of the size of your organization. You do not have to be a big multinational, for example, to meet, let's say, access requirements. Maybe you don't have an automated system for managing that. Maybe you have manage access through a privacy inbox or an inbox. But there are different ways to meet the requirements, and they're drafted in such a way to allow for that variation. Anyway, so back to the process. So we've identified the gaps for you and said, here's the things that we've identified that don't meet that assessment criteria. We will walk you through what we found and help you to identify, maybe next things that you need to do in order to come up to that standard. You remediate. Once you do, you are certified. And then what happens? Well, you'll get this letter of attestation. You'll get the trustee seal that you can publicly post. That's sort of the digital representation of your participation. And then you're listed in the compliance directory. I did put a link to the APEC one. The global one is not yet live. In the question I answered from Michael here is cbprs.org. There's a compliance directory there for both systems. So you get listed in that, talks about the what's covered in that. And that's the process that all of not only, US companies go through, but if they're in other regions as well, they work with an accountability agent in that region.
And this compliance review, Noel, as I've already mentioned, this is what many stakeholders have been highlighting. It is a great benefit of CBPR. And another thing, the scalability of the certification, as you said, the program requirements will apply to everyone, but the way you implement it may be different, depending on the size of the company and other components.
Yeah. And I do want to give a nod to the team that delivers these here at TRUSTe TrustArc because, we do work with companies of really all sizes, and to be able to evaluate, you really have to understand how privacy is operationalized at a lot of different levels. And they really bring to bear, when they do that work, what those, that operationalization looks like at different levels.
Yeah, they're incredibly helpful. I found that myself over the years with those certifications is that you have these interpretation questions, you need guidance, and this isn't just a team of folks who are kind of moving things from step to step. They are your guide, and they have access to not only their own knowledge set, which is large, but to the greater TrustArc organization, which has a knowledge team. And so you have this sort of ecosystem of support throughout the process, which is a huge benefit, not just of this cert, but kind of all our certs.